thrilling game in Portland last night. Back and forth at the end of regulation. Ends up getting tied. And then there we are in overtime. Big shots getting made by both teams. What a game. Do you know what we went to? Double overtime. And in double overtime, again, it continued going back and forth. But of course, we're talking about this game first, not because it went to double overtime, because of that man right there who was having a great game, having a great season, went down with a horrific injury. Jusuf Nurkic, who's powered this team to so many great wins, went down with a horrific injury. He's got a broken leg, certainly not going to play anymore this year. What does this loss mean for the Blazers moving forward?
Wow, this was a devastating, horrific injury. And like you mentioned, it went to double overtime, so I'm enjoying the game. It was back and forth. It was a lot of great players. It was a lot of great performances. Both of these teams are in playoff contention. The Portland Trail Blazers and the Indiana Pacers have a lot of parallels this season for me. And we've talked about it on this show. How both of those teams have maintained a level of excellence and putting themselves in the top 5 of each conference without necessarily getting the respect that they deserve from the fans and the media. Mm-hmm. The Pacers lose their best player in Victor Oladipo. We're going to be interested to see what happens to them in the first round based on who they face. And now Portland loses their second or third best player. Now all of a sudden, you lose your anchor down low, a guy that just had a career high that game. And now all of a sudden, the Portland squad enters the playoffs after being swept last year in the first round as a 3 seed. They definitely won't be a favorite now in their 4-5 matchup, and that's unfortunate.
So it's interesting that you parallel those two teams, because the Pacers, when they lost Oladipo, were like, oh, there it is. But they continued to play that defense. The role player stepped up. Coach McMillan does a great job with that team, and they've proven that they're getting win after win after win, even after their best player goes down. It's interesting to see if this team, the Trailblazers, while not losing their best players, can continue success late into the season and into the playoffs when an important player goes down for them.
Well, this is why you sign Enes Kanter as a free agent after being released by the Knicks or bought out, because what ends up happening is he can get you offense. He can get you rebounding, and he's going to be another big body that can play those minutes. But to have both of those guys was going to give them something special.
It was supposed to be 15 minutes a game for Kanter, see if he's hot. Now it's going to be like 30 minutes a game for Kanter and hope he's hot. Well, this just makes me so sad because, Portland is a West Coast team. As you mentioned, they don't get mentioned too much in the media, but they've just had so many bad things happen to them. Just in the last decade, you remember Brandon Roy injury, Wesley Matthews injury, that Chandler Parsons shot. Remember that crazy shot? And they got swept by the Pelicans. It just seems like this fan base is all of a sudden one of the most tortured fan bases in the NBA that has a good team.
I know where you're going with that, and I'll flip it and say, let's talk about some of the good things that happened. They got 2 guys from small schools. One, Dame Dollar, is going on to be a perennial All-NBA performer, and they made the playoffs each year he's been there, and then he resigns, falls in love with Portland, and hopes to be there a long time. CJ McCollum shows that he could be a 20-point scorer, and then you give him a big deal, and rightfully so. Now you have a backcourt of the future. That's something that a lot of teams are looking to have. But
let's not act like we weren't acting after the playoffs last year, asking the question, is this the backcourt of the future for the Trailblazers?
Correct, because to your point, they have not been able to advance as a collection. You would have hoped that this year would have given them the best opportunity to do so. Now that they don't have Nurkic, it's going to be tough to possibly even get out of the first round.
It's so awful when you see one of these devastating injuries happen, and obviously our hearts go out to Nurkic and the Trailblazers and all the fans. Get better soon, big fella.